war on Weinstein. Hollywood heavyweights slam the fallen super producer. But did he get A-list help to hide scandals in the past? Plus, NFL star Eric Reid is live in Hot Topics to talk about taking a knee during the anthem and why he says Vice President Pence's walkout sends a dangerous message.
This is what systemic oppression looks like.
Here come Hot Topics with Whoopi, Sarah Haynes, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
We want to start by telling all the people being affected by these insane wildfires ravaging parts of California right now to do whatever they have to do to keep themselves safe. If they tell you to leave, you got to go. This is no joke. This fire is just burning across, so you got to go if they're telling you to go. So, now, yesterday, you know, we talked a little bit about what was happening with Harvey Weinstein, but Hollywood seems to be coming out in force against Harvey Weinstein. Stars like George Clooney, Jennifer Lawrence, Olivia Wilde are slamming him, but tabloids are claiming that Harvey got A-list help in the past to sweep some of the dirty laundry under the rug. Now, Lena Dunham just said too many men are silent about sexism in Hollywood, and has that silence enabled men like Harvey? That's a whole lot of questions.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I don't think it's just Hollywood. I mean, look at the presidency. People were quiet about all the lawsuits, sexual harassment lawsuits against Trump, 11 of them, I believe. So, you know, it's politics, it's Hollywood, it's men.
It's also corporate environment, because they used to have a lot of rules on the book where if you were signing on to work for a company, that means if there was, bless you, anything against the company, that you had to do silent arbitration.
And that was at the Weinstein Company and at Fox.
Yeah, so there was a culture of that.
Exactly.
It's not just Hollywood. But I think that Lena made a good point about men coming out. Like, we need to hear more male voices right now.
Yeah.
Because she said they need to signal that we do not approve of the abuse of power and hatred of women that is the driving force behind this kind of behavior. I think it goes further when you get men on board, too.
There's a lot of good guys that are not coming. I mean, George Clooney came out, but the good guys need to come out. I think that they don't understand. Oh, just one point. They don't. A lot of good men do not seem to get what it is to be in the position of an objectified woman. Because men are not objectified in the same way.
I sometimes objectify them, but...
Yeah, but
Just
it's rare.
We just do it
Idris Elba and a couple, and George Clooney. But that's kind of in fun. Mostly, the harassment is men to women. So they're not identifying, and there's no empathy, I think, there for us.
They may not believe that it exists, that it's as rampant as it is, because I think yesterday I said there's about 60 to 70% of women are sexually harassed at work. It's actually 80%. I mean, that is so significant, and I think you're right. Men have to come out and come forward, but I also think there's been this silence, this culture of silence, because they pay women off. Sexual harassment is usually just two people, and so there are no witnesses to it, and women are very nervous, I think, about coming forward when there's that power dynamic. Like, you have your supervisor sexually harassing you, and you're a single mom, and you got to pay your bills.
We're sitting here with an extremely legendary actress, and I read Jessica Chastain saying that she knew this culture. She had heard this about Harvey Weinstein. It was something that was well known. Jessica Chastain's an incredibly famous Academy Award-winning actress. So what do you do when you're in this situation where you're like, there's this pig who may sexually harass you, but if you want to be in a big movie and you want to get this job, and this is clearly something that's still happening in 2017, I'm surprised more directors aren't coming out. 20, The Guardian tried to contact 20 people in Hollywood. Nobody's saying anything, and quite frankly, some of these statements are not good enough, from even coming out of women at the same time. Again, it's very strange because, again, I'm coming from Fox News. Well, I think that you have to understand that it's horrific what these women have been put through. This isn't just like, oh, you know, he tapped me on the rear end or something like that. It's like, you know, we've all heard some of these stories. Ashley Judd saying that he was trying to ask her to watch her in a shower. I mean, these are things that could traumatize you forever that you wouldn't necessarily come back from quickly.
But it's hard to come forward. Look at Gretchen Carlson. I mean, she's a shero.
Yeah.
She's the one that came forward and said, this happened to me.
She has been the tipping point.
She basically
as well.
got O'Reilly fired. I mean, that's pretty good.
She has been, but I also would debate that she's been a cultural tipping point for a lot of things. I don't know if Harvey Weinstein would be in the position he's in if it weren't for Gretchen Carlson. But again,
Anita Hill,
from
actually.
That's true.
Anita Hill is the tipping point for a lot of this.
Yeah, and we need...
Anita Hill is the cultural icon that started the discussion about sexual harassment.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know,
did you ever experience anything like that, though, where someone is saying,
no,
whoopie, don't
nobody was checking for me. No, you have to remember, when I started out, I was the only one that looked like this. So I'm not, and in many circles, still not considered hot or sexy, so they wouldn't come on to me, and they'd be also hard-pressed to come on to me because I would say...
But isn't it about power as well?
Yeah, but I have power. And
I've never seen
people
her be a
know,
shrinking
so
flower.
that would not stand with me.
So what would you say to a Jessica Chastain, though? A Jessica Chastain who's coming up saying, you're going to meet with Harvey Weinstein, he's a pig, you know these rumors. What advice would you give to actresses?
I would say you have to make a decision. If you don't want to say, you know, yeah, I'm just going to suck it up and collect a check and just do it. And then later on, say, you know, this was really messed up what happened. I would say you have to make that decision. It's a hard decision for both. It's a hard decision for women because you say, am I ever going to get the opportunity again? Can I still work? Is there anybody who will hire me?
Am I going to be blackballed?
Am I going to be blackballed? You know, but one could say there are lots and lots and lots of studios. There's lots of studios. Maybe it's going to take a little longer. Maybe it's going to be a little harder. But it's a decision that is hard for folks to make. It's not one that would sit well with me. I couldn't take the money. I'd have to hit him.
But think about...
I was not harassed at Fox, though, and I need to make that explicitly clear, but there is not a week that goes by that I wasn't asked if I was. So that, even just working there for the period of time I have, carries something with it. My brothers were deeply concerned at the time, asking, and again, I wasn't harassed. I'm not putting myself in the same vein as anyone else who was.
Well, me either.
But it carries stigma just the same.
They probably wouldn't spool around with you because of your father.
I think I don't.
That's
I
true.
mean, I'm sure there is a blanket coverage with that in a lot of different aspects. But
I don't see O'Reilly coming on to McCain's.
But I'm also like, give me some credit. I'm a tough chick too. I mean, I don't suffer fools very easily.
But the thing is, you know, you have power. You have power, but think about that woman.
No, wait. Let's talk about that because that's important.
Yeah.
I have power because I took it. I have power because the way I was raised, the way that I was raised said, you have to make a decision. Not everybody's going to like your choices, but you have to decide how you want to live. So because that's how I came up, I didn't come up because I was cute. I didn't get famous because I was cute. So I don't have a lot of the issues that a lot of women may be facing.
See, I think when you break it down to, let's say, someone in Middle America or someone in the South Bronx who is a single mom living in the projects and is working, you know, a minimum wage job, and her boss is coming on to her, she needs that job.
But
I understand that, Sonny. Well, she does have the power. She does have the power. Yes, she has the power to say, you know what? I'm not willing to do this with you. I'm not willing to do it. I'd rather find another gig. It might take me a little longer, but I'm not putting up with
Sonny,
this.
I don't even think you have to be the, I don't even think you have to be the single mom, because I remember in my 20s witnessing people at work that I knew were aggressors, and I always joked I played dumb, because if you don't pick up on the signs, they're kind of like, wow, she's really not getting this.
That's it.
Like, it's almost like playing dead. Like, I ran into those people, but I wasn't going to go down with a message because I hadn't experienced the actual abuse and I had avoided it. But that doesn't mean that I would be a pioneer to say I'm going to leave my job now, because it does, you do become a pariah.
Joy, I'm curious with you, because there's so much scandal also in the comedy community. Did you experience anything? Did you know about anything? But if you were in a position where they were like, okay, you're going to headline this show, you're going to be on X show, but you'll know you'll be with a Harvey Weinstein, what would you have done?
Well, a guy came on to me one time at Caroline's Comedy Club, and he was in the business. He was a manager, and I needed a manager. And he said to me, hey, want to get...
Oh my God.
Really?
And I said, yes, see anybody? So, the moral of the story is don't harass a comedian.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get shot down.
But it's all communities. It's not just the White House. It's look at Bill Cosby. It's media.
It's
everything.
all over.
Everywhere.
But
An
we
abuse of
have
power.
we have to make it imperative and important to women to come forward and not say, listen, I'm going to suck it up. We have to make it, they shouldn't have to make that decision.
But don't you think it would be good if women would practice a little how to respond in a way in the moment to get these guys away from
sad
them?
we have to
It wouldn't
do
be,
that.
I mean, besides going to the authorities, which could be the second step, there should be a way. Like I just told you an example of what I did. I was harassed when I was a teacher back in the 60s.
Well, if you look at sexual harassment...
And the guy that was the department chairman, and I was giving a lesson. And the class left, and he came up and he said, I wanted to nail you, he didn't say that word, on the blackboard. And I said, but what about my lesson?
I think men need to train
him into, like, the guy didn't know what to say.
Everybody needs the training.
Well, when you have sexual harassment training in the employment place, you know, women are trained, I think, on how to react and who to report to. But I think we need to start talking to our little boys. I think we need to start talking to our brothers. I think we need to start talking to our husbands.
And we need to start talking to our sisters and saying, you do not have to take this. Your career does not rise and fall on this. Because if you take this, people are going to assume that you're okay with the behavior. And that's what you don't want people to have.
But are we somehow blaming the women for it?
Listen,
no, you're empowering them.
The women in this country also heard the President of the United States use disgusting language in that Access Hollywood tape.
Yeah,
and then
Bill
it was,
Clinton
wait a second,
also had
I
things in
agree
the
with Bill Clinton,
White
and I
House.
took him on at the time.
Okay.
But this is the president we have now. And what we heard was, oh, that's just a locker room talk.
Yeah.
Don't you think that half the country and most of the children out there hear that and say, hey,
But
I could talk like that. That's why the boys need to be told it is not locker room talk.
The majority of conservative men came out saying it was unacceptable. I will say that.
And I have to put this, because you just said something that I need to clear up.
Yeah, like
it's not blaming the harassment. You listen. If something is happening that's making you uncomfortable, and you choose the payout, it allows them to say, well, you were fine with it. You took the payout.
Is it a real choice?
That's what.
If you take the payout when you need that job,
Sonny, you have to make it. You have to make the decision. It's a decision. Are you going to take it? If you have to take it, then you got to tell everybody what's happening. But you cannot say that no one has a choice. You do. It's hard. It's hard. But somebody's got, at some point, we have to say to every woman sitting out here, if somebody does this to you, you got to scream from the top of your lungs. And other sisters will help you get another job. But you don't have to take that. That's what I think we have to do. You don't have to take this. It's not blaming anybody. It's just saying, yeah, we know it's a hard decision. Let us, as other women and as other workers, help you. Because this is not acceptable to any of us, anywhere. We'll be right back with more Hot
Later, Idris Elba's Achilles heel. The Hollywood heartthrob opens up about the two things he finds irresistible.
Next chapter in View History, our new co-host, Meghan McCain.
It's such an iconic show. To be the conservative on this show is something that I take very seriously.
Your dad tweeted right now, but he said, watching Meghan McCain's first day on The View ABC, we are very proud.
She definitely has got some maverick in her.
Talk about taking on the White House over his right to take a knee during the anthem.
Before we move on to the next thing, we as a panel, I think, want to say to the women who have come out, thank you for doing that. We're glad you did it. And we'll keep you abreast of what's going on, because this story is not going anywhere. I have a feeling it's going to be going on for a while. Now, on a whole other note, the First Lady is not really all that happy with her husband's ex, Ivana Trump. Because apparently she made a claim on GMA yesterday. Well, I'm not going to tell you. Take a look.
I have the direct number to White House, but I don't really want to call him there because Melania is there, and I don't want to cause any kind of jealousy or something like that because I'm basically first Trump wife, okay? I'm first lady, okay?
Okay.
She was having fun.
That clip made me laugh because when I saw it, I didn't have the reaction when I saw the headlines before I saw the clip of she claimed she was first lady. When I watched it, I was like, wait, that was actually kind of funny. But what made me laugh harder is you don't hear Melania push back on anything that people say in the press. And what it took was wife one to make her angry because that's the first time she snapped back at anyone.
She clapped back at it.
Or clapped
Well,
back.
what did she
I
say?
get this
What
right.
did Melania, let's hear what Melania said. Yeah.
I don't know what she said, but I'm going to find out now. As the White House statement apparently made it very clear that Melania is in fact First Lady and that Ivana's claim is just attention-seeking and self-serving noise.
See, that's interesting because, in other words, Melania is learning from her husband. When they hit you, you hit back
twice
harder.
hard, yeah.
You know, because Trump right now is attacking I believe it's Tillerson who called him a moron allegedly, and he's saying let's take an IQ test. You know, and he's fighting back immediately. Very presidential. Does anybody in that family ever take the high road?
You mean
Normally Melania does. She doesn't talk.
Not this time.
I actually think it warranted a clapback, though, because the relationship between political spouses is a very sacred one. They were on the campaign trail together for a really long time. You have to be a team. There's no other option. I like Melania Trump. I think she's doing a really good job as First Lady so far. And I think the implication that somehow Ivana has a direct line to the president and is feeding into his ear, if that were my mother, she would have clapped back just as hard.
But the thing is,
if that were your mom, she would not be standing.
That is true.
Yeah, she would.
I was saddened by the whole exchange because remember, Ivana is the mother of Ivanka and Eric and Donald Trump Jr. So they are all a family, and they have to be a blended family and work together. And I think for Ivanka, let's say, if I'm the daughter and now Melania is like you're just a self-serving, attention-seeking woman, I would be offended by that because now you're talking about my mother.
Oh,
right.
Well, I mean, I don't pretend.
You're right, Sonny.
I don't.
Ivanka probably didn't like that.
I was saddened by it.
She should throw some shoes at her.
The reason she has that line to the president is because they have 3 kids.
They have 3 kids together.
Kids are forever, so you're going to have interactions.
And he adores Ivanka.
There is one good thing to come out of this First Lady feud. Here's something to put on your Christmas list this year. Take a look.
Get ready for Rock'em Sock'em Trump Wives. It's a First Lady face-off, a game being billed as the battle with no winners. Rock'em Sock'em Trump Wives. Available wherever presidential wife fighting toys are sold.
She's doing, I mean, this woman is really trying to reach out to opioids, epidemic that's happening in the country, Melania, and she's really trying to gain her ground as First Lady, and I think she's doing a really elegant job of it. And it makes me sad that this is such a distraction, and she hasn't been given the liberty that Michelle Obama was.
The truth of the matter is that before Ivana gave this ABC conversation, she apparently had been on with Fox and Friends or something, and had nothing but lovely things to say about it. So I would suggest that she was having more fun. I think she was having fun. I don't think she was actually, and I think maybe, and I could be wrong, but maybe Melania's thing is funny too. I have a funny feeling.
I hope so.
I'll tell you, you know how they could patch it up? They could make Ivana the ambassador to Nambia. That would do it.
Okay, we'll be right back.
ViewYourDeal.com now.
The Dr. Seuss Museum in Springfield, Massachusetts, announced that they're removing a jarring racial stereotype of an Asian character from one of his murals. So people are asking, is this another case of Americans acknowledging regrettable parts of our history? Was it a good thing to do it? Was that now the book that it's based out of was written in 1937, and in 1937, that's how folks were sort of doing stuff. But I'm curious.
Well, in 1961, Breakfast at Tiffany's, if you go on TCM and you see the horrific depiction of an Asian American by Mickey Rooney. Look at this. Look at this picture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 1961.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the important distinction for me was that this was in a museum, because I think you can use that as a teaching moment to have another plaque that says, you know, this was, you know, his art at the time, and just to give you an idea of what the climate was, you teach kids. This is what it looked like. This is what was going on. This is what, because to wipe it out takes away the struggle that we've overcome. So I think you need to clarify that. If it were a public monument, I might feel a little differently, because I think nobody should be forced to go by things that maybe have a distasteful kind of feeling, but museums should be places of learning.
And that's very interesting, because I never knew that Dr. Seuss, I don't know if everyone else did, had this racist history. And I actually didn't.
I love Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I didn't believe it at first, but they say he's complicated. He evolved.
Anyone in 1937 probably had a racist history. I mean, they were entirely different times. And I think if we view history through the lens of today, I've been thinking a lot about the statues, because most people I know are 100% against removing them. And one of the things I was thinking about recently is President Obama and Hillary Clinton came out for gay marriage around 2011, by the way, well after I did. So if we view them in 100 years through this kind of lens, will we think they're homophobic and we don't want statues of them erected in their monuments?
Good point.
I think that probably
Thank you,
people would and have, as you remember, really took them to task for the slowness of their evolution.
But is one moment, does it completely negate the past? Like Thomas Jefferson, he owned slaves. He also wrote the Declaration of Independence, and I believe that is worthy of having a monument in honor.
It may be, but you need to put on there that what was left out of the Declaration of Independence were all the people who were not white.
Right. And that's
so if we can, because we have to explain.
I'm genuinely curious. So you agree that Thomas Jefferson has relevance in American history because he wrote the Declaration of?
Sure.
Can you
he has relevance. More than that.
So what would you like on a monument? I'm genuinely curious because I don't understand. What would you like?
It has to have the truth on it.
So saying he was one of our great founding forefathers of America with George Washington, with Alexander Hamilton. However, that being said,
all owned slaves.
I think that again, then we're going to put on President Obama's monument, late to the game with gay marriage, late to the game.
Yes, you must.
I don't think you can compare the two. I don't think you can compare being late to marriage and owning slaves.
Hold that thought. We're going to go and come right back. Hold that thought.
The NFL protests have the president talking.
That son of a off the field.
And the VP walking. But up next, NFL star Eric Reid,
Picked off by Eric Reid,
is live in Hot Topics to talk about fighting for his right to take a knee.
San Francisco 49er Eric Reid has been one of the loudest voices in the NFL protests since it began. And this Sunday, he took it to another level by calling out Vice President Pence for walking out of the stadium after Reid and some of his teammates took a knee during the national anthem. Eric's joining us via satellite right now because he's actually playing football and he's on the road. So welcome, Eric. Here's the first question. Can you just tell people, because you were one of the first people to join Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick, in protest. Tell people what this is about and what it's not about.
So when I first joined Colin in the protests, it was following the aftermath of Alton Sterling. He was killed by police in my hometown of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and at that point I knew I needed to do something. I needed to use my platform to speak out for the people who didn't have a voice. So I joined Colin in protesting the issues in this country, which include police brutality, systemic oppression of black and brown people.
And what is it not about?
It's definitely not about the anthem, the flag, or the military. I think that's the biggest pushback we've gotten thus far. When we decided to start this process, we decided to kneel as a sign of respect. So it's very confusing for me that it's been misconstrued as disrespectful.
It is confusing.
Well, news was made Sunday when Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, said, and I quote, "We will not disrespect the flag. If there is anything disrespectful to the flag, then we will not play." How do you feel about the fact that an owner is now telling his players that if they protest, they can't play?
I think that's a poor decision on Jerry's part. We have a constitutional right to protest, and that's all we're doing. We're exercising it. It's a peaceful protest. We're not doing anything violent. We're simply trying to raise awareness around the issues that our country face. I quoted James Baldwin in an op-ed that I did, that we love this country so much that we reserve the right to criticize her perpetually. And we just want to do that. We want to make our country better.
Eric, you said you don't know if any of the players will actually kneel at their next game, but what would you do if you were on the team, on that team?
If I were in Dallas, I would explain to Jerry where I'm coming from, what these issues are, and I would try to help educate him on why we're protesting. And then I would continue to protest because it's my constitutional right.
All right, the audience seems to be with you, by the way, today. Now, the President, Trump, called you and all the other NFL players who have been kneeling SOBs. And then this past weekend, Vice President Pence left your game after you and some of your team kneeled during the national anthem. What's your response to all of that?
It's disheartening that the president of a country would call any of his citizens an SOB. But then when you compare that to the events that happened in Charlottesville, where neo-Nazis killed a person and nearly beat another person to death, and he calls them very fine people. It's sad, but he's given us an opportunity to continue to speak about these issues. I'm here today talking to you because of what he said. So in a way, I'm kind of grateful that he's made those comments because it's allowed our platform to broaden. But I really don't know why he said what he said.
Hi, Eric, it's Megan. I am going to be a little bit of a voice of dissension on this. An overwhelming number of polls show that the majority of Americans think that what you're doing is wrong. So how do you respond to that, and do you think it's just racism?
Well, that's why I'm here today, to try and retrain the control of our narrative. It's been misconstrued as being disrespectful to the flag, the military, and the anthem. And I'll start by saying I have the utmost respect for your father, my mother who served, and anybody who served and protect our country.
And I do appreciate that, as I do think men and women in the military should know that and hear that. But Mike Pence left a game, and I understand that you said it was an act of, quote, systemic oppression. So if I left your football game, would you think that I would be behaving in the same way?
You're not the Vice President of the United States.
Fair enough.
Oppression is defined.
But what do you say to systemic oppression, the act of leaving? Because to me, it's also a form of peaceful protest.
Systemic oppression is defined as using your power to unjustly control people. The president or vice president went to that game knowing ahead of time that the San Francisco 49ers had the most players engaged in the protest. So he went to that game knowing that we're going to protest again. And he went to that game knowing that he would leave after the anthem so he could misconstrue our message furthermore and say that it's being disrespectful.
Eric, a lot of football fans who view your protest as disrespectful were seen burning their tickets and jerseys. What do you say to them?
Before or after the game?
Probably after. They probably used it first and then burned it.
I'm just asking.
I would encourage these people to educate themselves on the issues that we're talking about. We didn't get here overnight. Today is a product of the history of our country that dates hundreds of years ago.
And, you know, you were talking about the Dallas team. And what I would say to him is, you know, you have players of color on your team. So you know that this has happened at least once or twice to one of your players on your team.
Sure.
And so being maybe able to have that discussion with him to help him understand what this is about, because I think once you start to say it's this, it's this, it's this, and people take that narrative over, they can change it to what they want. you're a child of the military. Most people who are on these football teams, they also have family in the military. So the idea that you're considered disrespectful, you're not considered disrespectful when you criticize a Gold Star family of a soldier, fallen soldier. When you say soldiers you don't like soldiers who have been captured. See, when you're slow to condemn Nazis and the KKK, to me, that's disrespectful.
Right.
That's disrespectful.
You know, Eric, it's interesting to me that when I was told your mother's in the military, it's clear that you feel the same patriotism that I do, because I think anyone who has a military family has that understanding. But you could understand probably better than people who aren't in military families why it seems so offensive. And I just want all of us to get on the same page in one form or another, because I don't think this is good for America. But what do you want to say to America? Because you have our attention. We're talking about this on The View. People like me are listening to you. What legislative action would you like to happen? What do you want going forward?
Well, the reason I'm here today is to clear that up. My mother did serve, my uncles did serve, my cousin just got back from Journey. This is not about disrespecting the military or the anthem. This is a way for me to bring awareness around these issues in our country. And moving forward, I think something has to be done. As regards to police brutality, I don't think that they should be able to use lethal force when a citizen is unarmed. That's a very simple start.
Say what? What? Yeah, no, I know. Everybody calm down, I'll get it. You know, they all want me to do this. They won't let me do it, though. So your former teammate, Colin Kaepernick, has not been picked up by another team this season. Why do you think the NFL, or do you think the NFL, has turned its back on him?
I think the NFL definitely has turned their back on him. I think they view this as a PR nightmare. I think our message has been misconstrued, and this is a product of that. So I'm on the show here today to clear that up, to say we started this protest with the intentions of bettering our country. We had the purest intentions. Colin had the purest intentions, and unfortunately, it's been misconstrued.
Well, you know what? You come when you're in off-season, come hang with us, and we'd love to talk to you some more.
Yes.
Because it's great to have you talking about this, and thank you for doing it with us. So our thanks to Eric Reed. We will be right back. Thank you, Eric. So, Kate Winslet just exposed a big secret about a guy we love around here named Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Now, here's what she said to Graham Norton.
And then Idris said, "Keep your socks on." And I'm like, "Keep my socks on?" Everything else is off. What's with the socks? He said, "No, I've got a foot thing."
I got a thing, you know. This is his thing. Listen, I didn't want their socks to come off and they were, you know.
Hobbit feet. So I'm thinking, well, poor Idris doesn't want to see my feet because maybe he just does not like feet in general, and that's the whole thing. It's the opposite, ladies and gentlemen. Idris loves feet.
Listen.
Everyone, take your shoes off.
Now, Idris was just here.
Yeah.
And I do believe I heard people wishing that they had worn open-toed shoes.
I would have worn those shoes.
I wore them today.
I would have worn those shoes had I known about
I'm
that.
running out to get I'm getting a pedicure. I'm getting a pedicure today. But you know, I happen to have stunning feet.
I know, Joy just told me that.
I mean, I have footage of Matthew McConaughey molesting my feet. Can we just show? Okay? I have 8x10s of my feet.
What was the catalyst for
Look at Elizabeth's like the innocent third wheel between you. She's like, I should have sat on the other side.
She actually, Joy has beautiful feet.
really
She
nice
has
feet.
gorgeous feet.
We went on a foot massage together.
Yes, we did.
You like to get a lot of
You
foot
practically assaulted me.
She's got nice feet.
So I'm like
But
fascinated
interesting.
by foot fetish in general. And by the way, whatever is consensual and whatever you're into, I have no problem.
Yeah.
Do
Right.
you in private,
Right.
whatever. But my boyfriend had been told by a friend of his when they found out we were together that I'm on WikiFeet, which is a Wikipedia site for women's feet.
So
I'm
fun.
sure you're on there too,
Yeah,
Joy.
me too. I have a very high rating.
Every photo you take of your feet will be uploaded to that site immediately, and there's a whole bunch of people on the internet liking your feet, Joy, looking at them.
It's kind of weird.
There's a guy that wrote me a lot, always asking me to take a picture and send it of my feet.
It's so weird. I saw pictures of my feet on WikiFeet. Where did they get those pictures from?
They're probably off your
online,
phone.
They take screen grab, they zoom
Probably
in.
off your phone. Look, I have
And I
hooves.
am not shaming. I
No,
am
no,
not
I have hooves. I tell you in a minute. They click clop when I walk. We'll be right back. Now wait a minute. So with half an era, I heard people talking about their chip nail polish. What is going on?
Well, so these days, people don't always love to give the gel manicures because you have to dry your hands. This is a 7-day manicure.
7-day.
You
But
get
mine
a
is
solid
away.
5 days.
Mine is 10 days old, though. So.
Well, you know what? We are a 5-day-a-week show. We're happy you were watching. We're happy you came. We want you to have a great day and take a little time to enjoy whatever view you have.